Okay, here we go. Another review cap of The Last Dance. If y'all didn't see it last night, it was absolutely amazing. It was something of the epic proportion. Dennis Rodman is a OG. Dennis Rodman is a OG. Tell it how you gonna go up to your head coach. Well, we're gonna get into that. But as of right now, just subscribe, like the page. You know what to do. Let's get right into this. Alright, so the first three things that I got off episode 3 and 4, the first three thing is Dennis Rodman is an OG. I don't care how else you put it. Only Dennis Rodman could tell his coach, hey, I'm going to Vegas. And Dennis Rodman is allowed to go to Vegas. No one else, not Draymond Green, not no one in the current NBA, in the past NBA, no one else could do something so wild to say, hey, coach, I'm going to Vegas. I need some days off. Like, come on, think about you going up to your boss and telling him, hey, I'm going to Vegas. I need a couple days off. He tells you, okay, but you got to come back in 3 to 2 days, in 48 hours. Those 2 days. And he doesn't come back in the third day. They're like, what the hell is going on? It's Dennis Rodman, people. And that just goes you to show the lore of Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was such a vital key to this championship that it was just basically like they needed him. They know they needed his defensive presence, his rebounding. His rebounding is something out of this world. This really was. He would listen to shots in the dark just so he could know where the ball would caress off of the rim to know where he should go. The dude was a genius. So my first take on episode 3 was that Dennis Rodman is a genius, man. First of all, he's an OG because he's the only one to be like, you know what, I'm gone, and that was right at the end of the episode, like, I'm gone. And then for him to be able to, perfect his craft to a point where he already knew where the rebound was headed to before the shot was taken. That is what you call genius moves. Big respect to Dennis Rodman. Big respect to the Bulls. Now, the second thing that I learned on episode 3 is that it doesn't matter who you are. You could be KD, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Michael Jordan. You cannot be a one-man band. You cannot be a one-man band because when you're going 1-on-5, the easiest thing to do is just close the paint up on them. They were knocking Mike down. Every time they'd foul him twice. So I always understood, like, especially now, since watching this documentary, like, you cannot have a one-man band and win the whole thing. It doesn't matter how great you are. You still need components. You still need that 3-shooter in the corner. You still need that defensive player. You still need that rebounder like Dennis Rodman was. That's exactly what you need to make a whole championship team. It's about coming together, working as a unit. And unless that happens, there would be no 6 championships, no 2 3-peats. So big shout outs to Phil Jackson for really putting that all together, because Phil Jackson was the one to tell Jordan, like, hey, no, we're playing as a team. I understand you're the best player in the world. You could be the best player ever, but we're still playing as a team, because sports is played as a team. It's played as a team. You can't just go 1 against 100, 1 against 10. As beautiful and as amazing as that sounds, it's not to happen. It's just the odds or the probabilities are completely against you. They can key in on certain things you do, and you can see this. You can see this by the genius of the Bad Boy Pistons at having the Jordan rules. The Jordan rules were things that people followed. This aura and this mystique about Jordan was because of these rules as well, because they couldn't defend them. So what you do when there's something unstoppable, you try to contain it. And they try to contain them as best as they can. They came up with them Jordan rules, which were pretty effective. They held him out of a championship for about 6 years. And he was winning MVPs and, scoring titles, but he was not getting there to the biggest stage of his life. And now the third is that, the third thing that I got from the third episode was that MJ, he would have scored 50. He would have probably scored 63 points on an average. Okay, all right. Let me just get into this. If MJ scored 37 in an era where they all got the 2 points and threes were rare. When I say rare, I mean rare. I mean like Steph Curry takes more threes in a season than Larry Bird took in a whole lifetime. So think about having someone like Larry Bird taking threes every day. Michael Jordan being a better three-point shooter than he already was, because he was a great three-point shooter. He hit Axe Portland. How many, you guys understand what I'm saying. So imagine Jordan in this era with the three-pointer, with his 2-point game. He would literally score no less than 50 a game. I would say about 60 a game. No less. About 50 or 60 a game. He was just that competitor. He was just going out there, going to get it. And, especially how lackadaisy defenses are these days. Goodness, he would have a field day. Every time I remember Jordan with the pump, and then he'd go up, draw the foul, make the basket. He would have literally 60 points today. He would still have 60 points in today's NBA. And that's basically what I took out of lesson 3, out of the episode 3. It was just like, I take them as lessons because all of these documentaries, each and every episode has been an absolute gem. You can learn life lessons. You can learn definite just lessons of working together, of unity, of having the same goal and the same plan. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode 3. Episode 4 was the greatness of Phil Jackson. So starting episode 4, the greatness of Phil Jackson. It was like who else could manage the amount of egos that Phil Jackson managed? Jordan, Rodman, Kobe, Shaq. Come on, GP. He had people to deal with. So the best thing that you can do is get beside yourself and learn how people are. And I feel like the number one thing that was shown and documented in the series was that Phil Jackson just understood his players. He was really a player's coach. He would literally do anything he needed to do along his guidelines. He had certain set rules and standards that you cannot break, but along Phil Jackson's guidelines, it was very, very wavy. It was something that you give and take. Life is like this. You give and you take some. You win some, you lose some. You just gotta know how to roll with the punches. I feel like Phil Jackson incorporated this into his basketball team to such a level where it brought out the best in everybody, including Dennis Rodman, 18 rebounds a game. Like, who does that? Who does that? Michael Jordan scoring over 30, getting him to the championship. It was Phil Jackson that did that. It wasn't no one else. It was Phil Jackson and his triangle offense, being able to move, having a group of people move in simultaneous, like, hey, so if he goes there, that means I need to be here. If he goes there, I'm there. That is what Phil Jackson brought to the Bulls and even to the Lakers, quite frankly. His coaching greatness was from understanding people, understanding situations, bending, budging, but never breaking. And that's the first thing that I got from episode 4. Number 2 is that Michael got amazing criticism. But everybody complains nowadays, oh, well, if I haven't won, like LeBron had gotten criticism, KD had gotten criticism before his. That criticism has always been there for the major stars, for the number 1 athletes in the world. They've always had criticism with them. Always. It doesn't matter what sport you play. The level and the intensity and the scrutiny when you're the best at what you do is gonna come. It will always be there. It will always be there. If you're great, you look for that. If you're great, you look for that scrutiny and for them to really analyze your game more than even you do yourself. Because, the biggest saying is that you are your biggest enemy or you are your biggest critic. Well, when you do have other critics criticizing what you do, wanting you to get to that final stage in your career, I believe that is what helped MJ get to the obsessive madness where he was not complete, not feeling 100% legitimate until he won his championship. And I believe it would have been that way either way, but I feel like it just motivated, it sparked that extra drive in him for them to say that Magic was better than him, for them to say that Magic had rings 5 already, and for them to tell that Bird already had his rings. Isaiah was dominating him in his own conference. That was amazing. So that's the scrutiny of Jordan, the criticizing of Jordan. If you're a great athlete, that should come. That is gonna be there. There's no getting away from that. If you're the true greats, run towards that and accept it and mold their game and get better with the scrutiny and the intensified pressure. Now, that's my phone. 3. My last real takeaway from episode 4 was that the relationship between Isaiah and MJ was a dynamic that you really can't really explain unless you were literally living through these times and going through this. This was a rivalry of like the highest proportions of Larry Bird, of Yankees, of Red Sox. This is like a rivalry just like any other, but with heated and a lot of passion behind it. 2 of the most passionate players to ever play the games in the 90s were Isaiah Thomas, which is a known. He's widely considered as one of the best point guards ever, aside from Magic Johnson and Stockton, John Stockton. But, Isaiah Thomas was a great. So when Jordan came onto the scene, Isaiah, being from Chicago, was Chicago's prodigal son. And there's a big article on this. Y'all can go check it out. Isaiah was an absolute, the pride of Chicago, Illinois. He was from the south side of Chicago, Illinois. He was the biggest thing to come out of Chicago at this time, basketball related. Now Jordan comes into the picture and he's on the Bulls. So he's repping Chicago. Now, Isaiah was repping Chicago because that's where he was born from. A lot of people feel like he should have been drafted to Chicago, seeing the deep ties and the deep roots to Chicago that he had, But Jordan was drafted into Chicago. And what did Jordan do once he got to Chicago? He started winning championships, started winning scoring titles, started defensive player of the year. He went off. So Chicago started loving Jordan as they should have. He was bringing them championships. How did that dynamic affect Isaiah? You can never really tell. You can ask Isaiah to this day, will we give you a straight answer? Most likely not, Who knows? People tend to get over things or as the years pass, but this is something that I believe can carry through with Isaiah for a long time. And if you ask him today, he's probably still a tad bit upset about it. As of right now, I feel like Jordan, he doesn't necessarily love the Pistons, but he never did anyway, so. For that is all today. That is it. I will definitely be here for episode 5, episode 6. Stay tuned. It was an amazing experience. Episode 5 and episode 6 coming out Sunday. I cannot wait. Can we just hit fast forward on these days? Everybody that's out there suffering from this quarantine or even in this quarantine, just stay blessed, stay safe, and pray to God. a blessed day. If you like these, like I said, comment below, follow, subscribe. I have a Facebook page, I have a YouTube page, I have an Instagram page. Just let me know where you would love to follow me and subscribe. And you're going to get a lot of great content just like this. We'll have some more special uninvited guests that come in through the back door. So we'll definitely be upping this content for you, and we'll keep it wavy. Have a great day, and God bless you.